Good day, Tagum City, especially to our viewers in our official Facebook page of La Filipina National High School and listeners in 98.3 Gold FM, ang radyo astig ng Tagum City. Kuya Wano, welcome to another exciting episode of Salida TeleRadyo School on Air. I am Ma'am Connie Sasobi Lumapas, your teacher host for this day. To help us understand more about seasons, I give the floor to our very active teacher broadcaster, Ma'am Jessa Banico.
Good day, students! Maayong adlaw kanatong tanan, especially to our viewers from our official Facebook page and listeners in 98.3 Gold FM. Welcome to Salida TeleRadyo. I am your teacher broadcaster, Jessa A. Banico. Come with me as we will going to learn another learning in Science 7, Quarter 4, Module 3. So what are we waiting for? Hang on tight and fasten your seatbelt for another terrific learning journey. Before we begin our topic for this day, let us play the game entitled Guess What? The rule of this game is very simple. You just have to guess when do the following situations commonly happen. For the viewers, I want you to observe the pictures that I will show you later. And for the listeners, kindly listen carefully as I will describe the totality of the pictures. I will just give you 3 seconds to answer. Take note that you have to answer it honestly with time consciousness. Ready? Let's start! Number 1. It is described as the coldest time of the year in other countries. Snow falls at this time. Ponds and lakes freeze. You can create snowman. You can also do an ice skating. When do you think it happens? Your 3 seconds starts now. Okay, the correct answer is winter. Number 2. It is also called as fall because the leaves fall from the trees. The leaves turns colors of red, yellow, orange, and brown. The weather begins to turn colder at this time. When do you think it happens? Your 3 seconds starts now. The correct answer is autumn. Number 3. At this time, we get lots of rain. Flowers begin to grow. The leaves begin to grow on trees. The weather starts to get warmer. When do you think it happens? Your 3 seconds starts now. The correct answer is spring. Let's have the last one. It is the warmest time of the year. The water gets warm and we can go swimming on the beach. When do you think it happens? Your 3 seconds starts now. The correct answer is summer. Okay, how's it, students? Did you have the right guess? Were you correct? I hope you did. The answers of our guessing game earlier had something to do with our topic for this day. Let us try to see if you can guess our topic by using the answers. We have the autumn, the winter, the summer, and the spring. Can you guess now our topic? Okay, today we're going to discuss about seasons. What are seasons? Why do we have seasons? These are common questions that we usually ask when we talk about seasons. But before we're going to answer that one, let's have first our lesson objectives. Number 1. Identify the factors that causes seasons and unequal heating in some part of the world. Number 2. Describe when each seasons happen. And number 3. Name some countries with their corresponding seasons. At this time, I want you to get a paper and pen. Let's check your knowledge by answering the following statements, whether it is correct or incorrect. Write the check symbol if it is correct and X if it is incorrect. I will just give you 5 seconds to answer. Again, take note that you have to answer it honestly and observe time consciousness. Okay? Ready? Let's start! Number 1. The Earth's tilt is one of the factors that cause the changes in seasons. Is it correct or incorrect? Your 5 seconds starts now. The correct answer is correct. Okay, let's proceed to number 2. The phase of the moon causes the change in the length of daylight. Is it correct or incorrect? Your 5 seconds starts now. The answer is incorrect. Let's proceed to number 3. The sun rises in the east. Is it correct or incorrect? Your 5 seconds starts now. The answer is correct. Okay, let's have number 4. Philippines has only 2 seasons, wet and dry seasons. Is it correct or incorrect? Your 5 seconds starts now. The answer is correct. Let's have the last number, number 5. There is winter in the Philippines. Is it correct or incorrect? Your 5 seconds starts now. The answer is incorrect. Don't worry, students, if you didn't get the answers correctly, because it's just only our pretest, okay? So let's move in our discussion. Have you ever wondered about the changes in weather that happen at the same times every year? The reason lies in the seasons. What is a season? A season is one of 4 periods in a year. Each season lasts about for 3 months. Remember, students, that we have 12 months in a year. Thus, every season will last for 3 months. And each season, there are changes in temperature, weather, and length of daylight. Why do we have seasons? Remember that the Earth moves in 2 ways. The first one is the Earth's rotation. Rotation is the spinning of the Earth on its own axis. When viewed above the North Pole, the Earth rotates counterclockwise from west to east. This is also called prograde rotation. Because of this rotation, we see the sun rising every day in the east and setting in the west. It also explains why we have day and night. What is an axis? An axis is an imaginary line that goes through the center of the Earth. It is an invincible line around which an object rotates or spins. The points where an axis intersects with an object's surface are the object's north and south poles. Next up is the Earth's revolution. Revolution is the movement of the Earth in its own orbit. Earth revolves in orbit around the Sun in 365 days, 6 hours, 9 minutes with reference to the stars. And that made 1 year that the Earth will have a complete revolution around the Sun. What is an orbit? An orbit is the path that an object follows as it revolves around another object. Earth's orbit is not a perfect circle. It is elliptical or slightly oval shaped. This means that there is one point in the orbit where Earth is closest to the Sun and another where Earth is farthest from the Sun. Now let us go back with this question. Why do we have seasons? I can tell that you are very eager to know the answer, and you also have some sort of idea of what might be the answer of this question. Now, what is the cause of seasons, or what really causes seasons? Seasons are caused by the Earth's position in relation to the Sun. The seasons change as the Earth moves closer, or farther away from the sun. Thus, we can say that seasons have something to do with the Earth's tilt on its own axis. Earth's axis is tilted at 23.5 degrees. Seasons are the result of the tilt of the Earth's axis. The axis of the Earth is not perpendicular to the plane of its orbit. It is tilted from the vertical by 23.5 degrees. The tilt of the Earth causes different areas to receive different amounts of solar energy. Earth's distance from the sun doesn't change enough to cause seasonal differences. Instead, our seasons change because Earth tilts on its axis, and the angle of tilt causes the northern and the southern hemispheres to trade places throughout the year in receiving the sun's light and warmth most directly. Earth's tilted axis causes the seasons. Throughout the year, different parts of Earth receive the sun's most direct rays. So, when the North Pole tilts towards the sun, it's summer in the northern hemisphere. And when the South Pole tilts towards the sun, it's winter in the northern hemisphere. Thus, we can say that the primary reason or factor for having season is the tilting of the Earth. Let us talk about the Earth's seasons. When does the autumn, the winter, the summer, and the spring happen? We all know that the Earth revolves around the sun in 365 and 1/4 days. Each month of the year, some places of the world receives different temperature, weather, and length of the day. When can we say that a certain hemisphere experiencing summer, winter, autumn, or spring? When does summer happens? It is when the Earth's axis points towards the sun. Summer is warmer than winter because sun's rays hit the Earth at a more direct angle. What about winter? When the Earth's axis points away from the sun, winter can be expected. During the winter, the sun's rays hit the Earth at an extreme angle and the days are very short. These effects are due to the tilt of the Earth's axis. Autumn, on the other hand, is the spin axis of the Earth points 90 degrees away from the sun. As the sun crosses the celestial equator, the sun shines equally on the southern and the northern hemisphere. It is also just the same with the spring. Earlier, I've told you that seasons is one of every 4 periods in a year. Thus, we could say that during the months of December, January, and February, it is summer in the southern hemisphere and winter in the northern hemisphere. The months of March, April, and May, it is fall in the southern hemisphere and spring in the northern hemisphere. On June, July, August, it is winter in southern hemisphere and in summer in the northern hemisphere. And lastly, September, October, November, it is spring in southern hemisphere and fall in the northern hemisphere. But then again, students, may I remind you that it depends on the hemisphere and the location of the country. Now, let's move on to seasons according to the length of day and night. The rotation of the Earth on its own axis is the primary reason for having day and night. It takes 24 hours to rotate exactly once. Although a solar day is 24 hours, not every day has 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of night. In some places of the world, daytime is longer than night in summer. This reverses in winter, making nighttime longer than daytime. This phenomena is what you called solstice. Solstice came from the Latin word which means the sun stands it occur twice a year. This occurs approximately on June 21st. This day has the longest bout of sunlight as any day during the year. It happens when the tilt of the Earth's axis is oriented directly towards or away from the sun, causing the sun to appear to reach its northernmost and southernmost extremes. And there are two solstices in a year. We have the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Day length varies with the time of the year and the latitude at which you are situated. For the northern hemisphere, the axis points most toward the sun in June, specifically around June 21st, and away from the sun around December 21st. These correspond to the winter and summer solstice. At the summer solstice, the sun travels the longest path through the sky, and that day therefore has the most daylight. When the summer solstice happens in the northern hemisphere, the North Pole is tilted about 23.4 towards the sun. During the summer solstice, the North Pole has 24 hours of daylight, and the South Pole has 24 hours of darkness. The winter solstice naman, or the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice is the day when the shortest period of daylight and longest night of the year. It happens when the Earth's North Pole is tilted farthest from the sun, and when the sun is at its lowest daily maximum elevation in the sky. During the winter solstice, the North Pole has 24 hours of darkness and the South Pole has 24 hours of daylight. Okay, let's sum up, mga students. Let's take note that the hemisphere tilted most towards the sun sees its longest day, while the hemisphere, when tilted away from the sun, sees its longest night. Okay? Now, let's have the other one. Halfway between each solstice, daylight and nighttime are equal. This is called the equinox. Equinox literally means equal night. It happens when the sun passes directly over the equator. Sunlight strikes the earth most directly at the equator. Like with the solstice, there are two equinoxes, namely the vernal equinox for the spring and the autumnal equinox for the autumn. For both hemispheres, the earth is 90 degrees away from the sun around March 21, and then again around September 21. This corresponds to the fall and spring. Okay. The equinoxes are the only time when both the northern and the southern hemisphere experience roughly equal amounts of daytime and nighttime. Day and night are not exactly of equal length at the time of the March and September equinoxes. The dates on which day and night are each 12 hours occur a few days before and after the equinoxes. The specific dates for this occurrence are different for different latitudes. Okay, we have here the vernal spring equinox that occurs in March 21 and the autumnal or the fall equinox that occurs in September 21. Okay, let's take note, students, the following. Number 1, the daylight lasts 12 hours and night lasts 12 hours. During equinox yan ha? The specific, but then again, students, please remember that the specific dates for this occurrence are different for different latitudes. Okay? So, we all know here in the Philippines, we don't have winter. So that's why we can have this question. Why does some places don't have the same seasons? We all know here in the Philippines, mga students or mga kaastig, we don't have winter, fall, and all other seasons. But the question is, bakit? The question is why? So the answer are the following. First, some places are close to the center of the earth near the equator. Second, these places do not move closer or farther away from the sun. And the last one, because of this, these places stay very warm all year around. Thus, we can say that the answer is the position of the country in the different latitude of the country in which the country plays. Okay? So, we have to remember that the different parts of the Earth's surface receive different amounts of sunlight. The sun's rays strike Earth's surface most directly at the equator. Philippines, again, is a tropical country. Thus, it lies in the tropics or near in the equator. the tropics get more exposure to the sun. Because of all that sun, the tropics don't experience the kind of seasons the rest of the earth. The tropical seasons are broken up into just two. And what are those? We have here the wet and the dry season. Okay? So now, let's try to name countries with their corresponding seasons. Using a map of the world, if you have map out there at your home, you can have that one. You may bring it up or use it in our activity. Now, we have here, in your previous knowledge, you already know that we have different imaginary lines. We have the Arctic or the mid-latitude or the Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn, and the Antarctic. So we have here, kindly locate or name some countries that are located in those imaginary lines. So, in the Arctic region, they experience two seasons. They have polar day and polar night. Can you name countries that lies in the Arctic region? Okay. Meanwhile, in the mid-latitude, they experience four seasons. They have summer, winter, autumn, and spring. Can you name some countries? Okay. While in the tropics, they experience two seasons. They have wet and dry season. Can you name some countries located in this imaginary line? Okay, we also have in the next one, in the mid-latitude or the Tropic of Capricorn, they experience four seasons. They have summer, winter, autumn, and spring. And the other one, and the last one, in the Antarctic region, they experience two seasons. They have polar day and polar night. Okay? If you are done, let us name some. In the Arctic region, we can have Alaska, Denmark, and Sweden. For the mid-latitude, you can have China, Japan, and Korea. For tropics, we can have here the Philippines. We have Mexico and Colombia. And for the mid-latitude, we have Argentina and Paraguay. And for the Antarctic, we have the Balleny Islands and the McDonald Islands. So, hopefully mga kastig after this pandemic, if na may balak mo adto og countries nga naay snow para magbakasyon or mo spend og time sa family, you should consider its location and also the month of the year. Okay? So, and that's it, students. We are done discussing things about seasons. At this time, let us test how much you have learned for today's lesson. Kindly get your paper and ball pen as you will going to have 4 to 1. Direction. Choose the letter that corresponds with your answer. I will just give you 5 seconds in each item. Again, take note that you have to answer it honestly and observe time consciousness. Okay? Ready? Okay, let's start. Number 1. Seasons are caused by letter A, rotation and revolution. Letter B, revolution and the Earth's tilt. C, rotation and the Earth's tilt. And letter D, Earth's tilt and its shape. Your 5 seconds starts now. Okay, the correct answer is letter B. Number 2. What happens when the hemisphere is tilted towards the sun? Letter A, it receives direct rays from the sun. Letter B, it has a shorter day and night. Letter C, winter occurred. Or letter D, it has an equal day and night. Your 5 seconds starts now. Okay, the answer is letter A. Now, number 3. Which of the following statement is true about seasons? Letter A, seasons will occur every 5 months. B, there is equal day and night every seasons. C, seasons are caused by the Earth's position in relation to the sun. Or letter D, a season is one of 3 periods in a year. Your 5 seconds starts now. Okay, the answer is letter C. Okay, let's have the fourth one. When does equinox happens? A. The sun passes directly over the equator. B. The earth is tilted away from the sun. C. The earth is tilted towards the sun. Or letter D. The sun passes directly below the equator. Your 5 seconds starts now. Okay, the answer is letter A. Now let's have the last one. Which of the following seasons does the Philippines have? A. Summer and winter only. B. Wet and dry season. C. Fall, spring, summer, and winter. Or letter D. Polar day and polar night. Your 5 seconds starts now. Okay, the answer is letter B, wet and dry season. Good job, everyone! Thumbs up for a job well done. I hope that you have learned something new about seasons. But before we're going to end up our today's lesson, I would like to give some things to do. For your assignment, in a sheet of paper, write an essay about what's your most liked season. Okay? And that's it. We are done with another terrific learning journey. Thank you so much for viewing and for listening at 98.3 Gold FM. But before I leave, here's a quote from Charles Spurgeon. The seasons change and you change, but the Lord abides evermore the same, and the streams of His love are as deep, as broad, and as full as ever. Again, I am your teacher broadcaster, Jessa A. Banico, saying, do all for the glory of God. To God be the glory.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Jessa Banico, for the very informative discussion. Thank you so much to our viewers and listeners. Once again, I'm Connie Sasilbi Lumapas, your teacher host, saying, just like season, people change.